didn't even talk. Push the button, Max. So this rotation and aspect of the ear, if you overdevelop this area of the ear, then you belay your whole perspective orientation. And an overemphasis on the ear is not where you want the viewer's eye to go. So 1-point perspective, you see equal sides of the ear. In a 3/4 rotation, you'll see less of one side and slightly more of the other. And again, the height is taken off the superciliar arch and the lobule of, the lobules here, and this is the anterior spine of the septum. So that's how you align these measurements on the ear. Okay, so Dan Thompson taught us this. I loved it. He said, the ear is an external internal form. It does not have, in other words, the components for hearing are inside the skull cavity. The exterior portion of it has no access to the front portion of the skull. It's literally stuck on that side plane of the ear. So I think that's kind of an interesting thought. Now the basics down to this ear is you're going to get this alignment on the top of the superciliar arch, and the base of the lobule goes to the anterior spine of the septum. The alignment is 15-degree angle, and it's basically this letter C. Okay, that's the form of the most basic shape of an ear. Now I keep mentioning differences, male, female, and age-related. Sorry about this, there's lots of things like the adipose tissue for female figures. Male ears continue to grow throughout their lifetime. So male lobules get larger.
Not female?
No. Also the nose gets longer, but not their lobule. Not the female. Okay, so I'm going to go over the parts. Big sigh, right? Oh. Okay, so we've got a helix. That's this portion of the ear. Remember, this to this is at a 15-degree angle. It sits behind the auditory, it doesn't sit behind, it sits behind the mandible. Okay, so here's our mandible. It's really unfortunate that fell off this week. Okay, so here's the mandible. Here's the auditory meatus. That's your ear canal. There's the mastoid process. Okay, that triangular form back here. And you can occlude this auditory meatus and still hear. That's where sound waves bring sound into your ear canal or your auditory meatus. But that mastoid process is really, really important. And it sits right back here. All right, so this is the helix right here. Now, most of the ear is not really vascular, but the helix is. Okay, that means it has a lot of blood flow. So those of you that will eventually go into painting, this is more of your CAD reds right here. Then there's an anti-helix. That's this shape right here, or secondary form. All right, right here. This is the anti-helix. Okay, so I've got a helix and an anti-helix. Now, depending on whether you're from the East Coast or the West Coast, depends on how you say this. So back east they say tragus, and here we say tragus. Same form. It's this little flabby dappy right here. And it's 15 degrees, and it's a flap, and it's used as a visual landmark. A soft tissue, well, it's really cartilage, but that's the tragus or tragus, okay? And then you have a secondary, anytime in anatomy you have one form, then you can be guaranteed you have the form next to it. So there you have the anti, I don't know, because in English language, anti means against, but I don't know why they call it anti-tragus or tragus, but they do. All right, so that's the form. Then inside there, and this is where we get a lot of shadow, inside this shape is the cup that contains sound waves, and it's called the concha. And right here is the auditory meatus. And its fame to glory and for an artist is that it's the halfway point in profile. First and foremost, it's how we hear. And then we get this beautiful form right here called the lobule, or lobe. Okay, that's the lobe. One of the ways that Dan Thompson described the ear is if I had some plasticine here, I'd just sculpt a rectangle. And then he said, if you can envision having a door with a ball sticking behind that door, that's the reverse side of the concha. So it's like this. My cell phone's warning me it's about to go out of battery. So this is the back door, okay? This is behind, what sits behind the ear. So as far as drawing it, we'll be doing it in value. And that's it for today for the ear discussion. We're going to continue, but my phone evidently is not